Hey friends, so what are we doing today? We're going to be making some cupcakes, and yeah, we're going to be making cupcakes. So these we're going to make from scratch. I'm going to go ahead and give you the recipe, and then I'll go through it with you actually making it. For this recipe, now okay, let me put it this way. If you want a complete white cake, normally you just use egg whites. Me, I don't want to not use those egg yolks, so yeah, but yet I don't really consider it to be a completely yellow cake, but you know, yeah. So I'm just going to be opting out the egg whites for whole eggs. So I'm going to tell you the recipe, and then yeah, because sometimes I'll do it with the egg whites and sometimes not. You're going to need a half a cup of softened butter. I like to use the real unsalted butter. So, and you want it softened. So let it sit out. You don't want to use it too cold, and you don't want to use it melted, completely melted. You're going to want 1.5 cups of sugar, granulated sugar. You know, you can use raw sugar, you can use the white sugar, whichever you have or want to use. 4 egg whites, that's to make it completely white. I'm going to be opting out and using actually 3 eggs, so whole eggs. 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. My vanilla's not ready yet, so I had to go stop by and get me some. So yeah. The recipe calls for 2 cups of all-purpose flour. We're not going to use the all-purpose flour. We're going to use cake flour, and I will tell you in a minute. If you don't have cake flour and you want to make you some, I'll tell you how in a minute. But then you're going to want 1 teaspoon of baking powder and 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and another change that I've made, which, you know, I don't have buttermilk. So, you know, 1 1/3 cup of buttermilk. I'm using whole milk, 1 1/3 cup of whole milk. So then, and then you'll just, you know, whatever frosting you want to use. We're going to be making actually a buttercream. So yeah. Okay, cake flour. Did not want to pay the price that they want for that box in the store. So make your own. Yeah. That's what I have here. I've already made it. Now, how do you make it? Okay. The way I do it is I take a measuring cup, a 1 cup measuring cup, and I take 2 tablespoons of cornstarch, whatever brand you have, you know, just 2 tablespoons, and I put them into my cup. Then I take and I fill up this cup the rest of the way with all-purpose flour, and I've got this one. It's not bleached. Yeah. So I fill that up with all-purpose flour, and I do that until I have what I think I need, so, or want, you know, and you could store it in a jar for so long. But yeah, you're going to want to mix it good. You can shake your jar as you go. You know, I actually use something to stick down in there and mix that up and shake the jar. But yeah, and then we have our cake flour. Simple, huh? Why paid that price, right? And this is just simple all-purpose flour, cornstarch. Yeah, make your own. Okay, first off, we're going to want to put our butter in. So this is our 1/2 cup of softened butter. I want to get all of that out of there. If you need to stick it in the microwave, only do it at like 10-second intervals so that you don't get it like sopping, you know, completely melted and separated and all that. You don't want that. Okay. Now we're going to want to add in our sugar. And we want to cream those together. So get them creaming together. Get those creaming together. You're going to want to get it nice and fluffy. You see I'm increasing it a little bit. I had it low because we all know what happens if you cut it up too high to begin with. It's going to throw everything out on you. Or it will the sugar, you know, in this case. Or flour in other cases. Okay, we get that nice and fluffy looking. And then that's when we're going to start adding our eggs. We're going to add them one at a time. And like I told you, I'm not using the egg whites. If you want to use 4 egg whites, you can use 4 egg whites. I'm going to opt out and I'm going to use 3 whole eggs. And I'm not a professional baker, so if I don't do it exactly like, you know, one does it, oh well. I just do my own thing. Okay, we're going to do our 3 eggs. And you could very well do this over a bowl if you want to. You don't have to do it straight into your mixing bowl like I did. A lot of times I'll use a bowl and just do it that way. Especially if you're using like homegrown eggs that someone has gave you, because you don't want to put a bad egg into your mix. And it can happen. It can happen. Ask me how I know, because when I was younger, yeah, I had that problem happen. So, yeah. And plus, you can check your eggs. You can put them in cold water, and if they float, they're not good. If, you know, if they go down or just stay in the middle, you know, okay. But floating, no. And I was supposed to do 1 egg at a time. I didn't do it. Oh, well. Okay. So, normally you would do, if you're going to do those egg whites, do 1 egg white at a time. Mix it a little bit, then put the next one. Mix it a little bit, then put the next one, and so on. Same goes for this. Normally I would do it that way, but yeah, I got carried away telling you about the egg thing. I see a few lumps of sugar in there, so I'm just trying to get those incorporated pretty good. And yeah. Okay, now I'm going to put in my vanilla, and it was 2 teaspoons of vanilla. So I'm going to put in my vanilla. Okay. We're going to do 2 teaspoons. 1, 2. And I'm going to, okay, after I mix this, I'm going to mix into another bowl, which I can't show you because I can't move this thing. You know, it's kind of heavy. But I'm going to mix into just a plain old clear bowl my flour and my baking powder, my baking soda, and my salt. I'll be mixing those together, just getting them incorporated with a whisk and before I put them in here. incorporated, I'm getting my flour mixture ready. And I'm going to use sea salt. So you can use whatever salt you want to use, but I'm going with the sea salt for it. Okay, now I've got my mixture here. As you can see, it's already ready. That is my 2 cups of flour, my teaspoon of baking powder, my half a teaspoon of baking soda, and my 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Now I'm going to add that in alternately with my milk. So yeah, now you look, that looks really nice and creamy. So now I'm going to start adding in my flour mixture, some at a time. And my milk is at room temperature. I'll put my milk into a measuring cup so it's easier to pour. Yeah, I need to do that. Okay, now we've got a little bit of that. Now we add a little bit of milk. And then we'll add a little bit more of flour. Then we'll add a little bit more of milk. We're going to do it that way. And you're going to keep doing that till you have it all incorporated in there. You're going to want to preheat your oven. I've already got mine preheated. I do mine at 350 because my oven gets really, really hot. And you know, you can do yours at a different degrees if you want to, but the recipe actually is 350 degrees. Okay, I'm going to scrape down the sides I just like to get any flour off of this. And if yours seems too liquidy, you can add some more of your flour if you need to. I'm pretty much going to leave it as the recipe calls for, though. Okay. I'm just scraping that down. Let it get a good mix going there. And then we'll be ready to put it into our cupcake holders. Okay, that looks pretty good. So we're going to get ready to do the cupcake holders. I'll show you a little bit, but then I'll do the rest of them off of the camera, because it just makes it long and you're just watching me just repetitively do the same thing. Okay, I've got this, so have to be very careful because it will be dripping, you know. I'm just going to show you one. And you're going to set your timer. If you have a normal stove that doesn't like to burn everything up, it should take 30 to 35 minutes for these to bake up. Checking them with a toothpick, of course, to make sure that they are done in the center. You know, where when you, after about 30 minutes, for me it's going to be around 25. But take you a toothpick and stick it down in the center of your cupcake. Right in the center. That's all I'm going to do for these, is about there, because I don't want them to get really high, and I may have that one a little too high. But you're going to stick a toothpick down in the center, and then you pull it out after you bring them out of the oven to check them. And if it has anything wet on it, it's not done. If it comes out clean and there's nothing on your toothpick, then it is done, and you can bring them out and let them cool. So yeah, I will show you once I get them in the oven and everything, how they're going about baking and all of that stuff. Okay, we got them in there. As you can see, I've got my pizza stone underneath there. That'll help keep them from burning. Okay, here's what they look like for me. There's a little bit, I see a little bit on there. So I'm going to give this a couple more minutes. Okay, they're perfect. Toothpick came out perfectly clean. Yeah, so I'm going to set these to let them cool for a bit. Let's look at the bottom. Yep, it's not burnt. So I'll set these aside to let them do their cooling. And yeah, we'll get with the next thing. Got these vanilla on a cooling rack doing their thing, cooling off nicely. Okay, vanilla buttercream frosting. Okay, first off, I'm going to give you the recipe so that you have the recipe down. So you're going to want 1 cup of room temperature unsalted butter, and I use the real butter. So, and that is at room temperature, and unsalted. If you have salted, by all means use it. And if you have the not real butter, by all means use it, you know, yeah. And then you're going to want to have 4 to 5 cups of confectioner sugar. That is powdered sugar. You're going to want to have 1/4 of a cup of heavy cream, or you can use half and half or whole milk. You know, and if you have whatever kind of milk, if you want to try it, try it. You don't know till you try it if it'll work. But you want to have that at room temperature. So mine is here and it is at room temperature. You're going to want to have 2 teaspoons of pure vanilla flavoring. If you have the vanilla paste, you could use that. I had to buy some vanilla flavoring. Mine is not ready yet. I want to let it infuse longer. And then you're going to use about 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt, or pinch, however you're just going to use a little bit of salt. I'm using the paddle. And you're probably going to want to use some sort of mixer, whether it be a hand mixer or a stand mixer, because it'd be hard to mix if you don't. Now, you know, I'm not saying you can't do it, because you can. It's just going to be a workout, yeah. And it may not come out as creamy doing it by, hand. Okay, we're going to put our butter in there first, because we want to cream our butter. We want to get it to a nice creamy state. And as you can see, my butter is at room temperature. It is a little bit wet. Not wet, just soft, very soft. Okay, so we want to cream that. Let it do its thing there. Because now we're going to get ready our powdered sugar. Now we're going to put 4.5 cups of powdered sugar in here as soon as this gets creamed good. And now we're going to start putting our powdered sugar, 4.5 cups of it. So I've got 1 cup here. Let that start mixing that. Okay, so that's 1. Our next one, 2. Look how pretty it's looking. 3. I don't like to add it all at once. Just let it do its thing there. Number 4. Yeah, don't crank it up too high. It'll start flying out on us. Okay. Now you see it's getting a little bit hard to mix there. we're going to put in our half. Now this is where you get ready to add in your heavy cream. I want to get all of that cream in there. Okay. Now I want to put in my vanilla, which is 2 teaspoons. I'm going to crank that up for just a minute there before we put the vanilla in there. Vanilla. One. Two. Now I'm going to increase that again. Cut it back down for a second because I want to actually scrape the sides really good. Scrape that beater off where that vanilla got on there. Anywhere you see like powdered sugar that's out and exposed, or vanilla that didn't get mixed in, you're going to want to push that down where it goes into the rest of the icing. And in the bottom, these bowls tend to have a spot like around the edge there, around the center sort of. And they don't want to, it doesn't want to mix there for some reason. I'm going to increase this speed, and I'm going to let this do its thing. Don't have that on high, I've got it on probably medium high right here. For me, this is where you start judging it. You know, does that look palpable to you? Or are you smearing it with a cake spreader or a butter knife? Or are you going to be using a piping bag? So for me, this looks a little bit too wet. So this is where you come in to control however you're wanting to do it. So for me, I'm going to add a little bit more powdered sugar to this, and go from there. Because if you remember, it was 4 and a half to 5, or 4 to 5 cups. So I'm going to actually add, well, let me get I'm just going to go ahead and get that half cup ready, and then I'll go from there. I'll just add some. May not have to use it all. You know, it's all according, and if you're using a butter knife to put it on, you're fine. But I'm going to be piping it, so I'll put a little, whoop, tried to all fall out, and then give that a mixy mix there, and see if that brings it to the consistency that I'm looking for. You see, this is where you can kind of judge, you know, if it's too wet, you put some sugar. If it's too dry, you can add another splash of heavy cream or milk or whatever you're using, even water, you know, there at the end if that's what you have on hand. If you used all of your milk or heavy cream to just make it, and then you got it too dry at the end, then yes, I have used water before. Okay, now let's give this a check. Well, first I need to scrape down my sides. Scrape them down a little bit there. Make sure there's no powdered sugars got, you know, collected up there. Okay. I am going to go ahead and add the rest of that sugar. I'm going low right now, just to let that get moved around in there. And now I'm going to increase my speed. Everything moved about. Okay. I think that's more where I'm going to want it. So now I am going to take this out of here. I won't keep you for that, but yeah, I'm gonna get this out, get it into some container so I can use it. I almost forgot my salt, and you do not want to forget your salt. I'm using sea salt. Yeah, you don't want to forget that salt, because of all that sugar that you use in there. It could be very sweet. That salt just helps with that. Okay. And you could just do a pinch, but I got that 8 measuring spoon, so I might as well use it since I have it. Give that a mixy. it's a good thing I didn't take it out before I put my salt in. Of course, I could have mixed it in by hand, but I don't really want to, you know what I mean? I'm trying to look at that to see if that is the consistency I'm kind of looking for here. I think so. I haven't not piped in a long time, so I guess we'll find out, right? So now I'm going to take this out of here and put it in something else. Okay, here's what I like to do. I take my piping bag, put my end in it. See, I've cut it. I like to twist this. And then I like to take it and stick my hand down in there and put it down in there where it's kind of sideways, so it's not going to shoot out everywhere. And then I like to do it like this, right here. And then you just filling up your bag, like so. Like that right there. Fill it up. And, yeah. Now we're filling our bag up. As you can see, get our bag nice and full. I'll leave a little bit in there because I've got something else I want to do. Okay, so that's how I like to do that now, to put it in there, like so. Show you just how cute. On my cupcakes, I'm going to be actually putting some of these. Just stick it right in the cupcake. That's what these are for. Look, there's adorable. Adorable. We've got lions, we've got monkeys, and we've got kangaroos, and then we have our elephants. So I think my little man will like those. He's turning 4, so I think that goes pretty good. I think he'll like those. Those will be going on some of the cupcakes. Yeah. Okay, we got us some cupcakes here, vanilla cupcakes that I made that are cooled. And then you want to take that out like so. And you see it's got room there. So I'm just going to kind of press this down. Now, I'm not a professional, so yeah, I just do my own thing. I've learned my own way of doing this. So yeah, I'm not a professional. I like to pipe. I even like to pipe my cold processed soap. Okay. And let's see. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing. Okay, and then I just like to just start and just kind of go with it. See? That's one way I like to just kind of just let it go. And you see this buttercream is working pretty good. Consistency was a little bit off, but good enough. And then whenever, after you push out your icing and it gets loose in your hand, you just simply do a little twist. I have another really good buttercream, vanilla buttercream recipe that is one of my go-tos too. Maybe someday I'll do it on for y'all. Okay. And you could use food color, and I chose not to. Like so. You could put those sprinkles on there if you want to. Personally, I don't care anything about them myself. Okay, see, we're getting low, so we're going to end up having to put some more icing in there. Okay, there we go. There's what they look like. These cupcakes are delicious. Absolutely delicious. And the thing about buttercream is you can kind of control it, because you can add less sugar, make them not as sweet. You can make it creamier, you can make it stiffer, however you're wanting to, you know, pipe it or just spread it, whatever. But you know what the best things are? One thing, you done it yourself. You made it from scratch. Cake, the frosting, the cookie cake, whatever, you done it yourself. Number two, the best thing is you know what's in it, because you put every ingredient in there. You know, you're not buying a box that's got a lot of words that you cannot pronounce, or you don't know what on earth they are, or they may say bioengineered ingredient. What is that? You know, so you know what's in it. That's a big plus there. And these cake mixes, you know, oftentimes you can make them, pre-make them, put them in a jar, seal them up tight, you know, put them in a nice dark place in your cabinet, and they'll last for a good amount of time. Yeah. Okay, I got me a box at Wally World, and here they are. Here they are. Aren't they adorable? And these little stick-on things stick in there. They just simply just stick right down in there. Isn't those adorable? Hopefully you can see them. Me, my son, you know, my mom, we're dieting right now, so we will limit ourselves, you know, and but I wanted to bring you along, let you see, you know, and give you these recipes on how I was going to do this. So if you like the content I create, how about a follow? I truly appreciate that. And yeah, I think these are awesome. I've still got my tag thing on there. I gotta take that off. And yeah, tasty. They're very tasty too. So yeah. Hi friends, what are we doing? Okay, we are going to be making chocolate cupcakes from scratch. So yeah, we'll get to it. Okay, first off, I'm gonna give you the recipe. Now the recipe is, okay, it calls for 3/4 cup of softened butter. I'm using unsalted, and I'm using real butter. You use whatever you have. And 2 cups of sugar. You can use raw sugar, you can use it's granulated sugar. So 3 eggs, and 2 teaspoons vanilla extract, 2 cups of you can use all-purpose flour. I'm choosing to use cake flour, and if you don't have any, I'll show you in a minute how to make your own. It'll just change the texture of the cake a little bit. Okay, and then you need 3/4 cup of baking cocoa. And you can also, if you want to, which is optional, you don't have to, and I'm not going to, you can add some chocolate chips, chocolate drops in there as well. I'm not though, not this time. And then you're going to want to have 1 teaspoon of baking soda, a 1/2 teaspoon of salt, and 1/4 teaspoon of baking powder. And then you can use 2% milk if you want to. I'm using whole milk. That's totally up to you. You could use buttermilk, whichever you prefer. You want 1.5 cups of milk. And I have already put into a bowl my dry ingredients except the sugar. Don't put your sugar in here. This is your flour, your cocoa, your baking soda, your baking powder, and your salt. And you give that a good mix. Now, yeah. If you don't have cake flour, you want to make your own. I mean, it is, yeah, I'm not paying that for you just get a box. And, yeah, cake flour, it's, you know, it adds up. So, make your own. That's what I've got in here that I made last night. You can make it and keep it, you know, for a good while as long as you've got it airtight. Probably months. Now, what you're going to want to do is, I like to take a cup measuring cup, just, you know, that's for dry ingredients, and then have a tablespoon, and you need some cornstarch. So what I do is I put 2 tablespoons of cornstarch to begin with in this cup. Then, after I do that, I add to this cup, making it level, all-purpose flour. And I'm not using bleached. You can if that's all you have. But you add that all-purpose flour to that, and then I put that down in my jar. I gave it a good mix, and then I shook the jar, put my lid on and shook it. And that's how you do that. Now, if you were just needing a half a cup, then, you know, you would do basically the same thing. You would take a half a cup dry measuring cup, and you would put 1 tablespoon, just 1, of your cornstarch in there, and then fill that up with all-purpose flour. And there you go. But you do want to mix that good. You want to have it mixed up good. So that is how you do your cake flour if you don't have any. Okay, I've got my butter in there. This is softened butter. I just left it sitting out and, you know, let it do its thing. Now I'm going to add in my 2 cups. That is 3/4 of a cup of softened butter. And then I'm going to add my 2 cups of sugar to that. And I'm going to cut that on. You want to let it cream. You're going to let that cream. You want it to get nice and light and fluffy. And once it gets nice and light and fluffy, then we'll start adding some more ingredients to it. While that is doing its thing, I've got my eggs there at room temperature. You want to have everything at room temperature. So you want your butter at room temperature, you want your milk at room temperature, you want your eggs at room temperature. You want it to all be at room temperature. It will work better for you. Okay, now we're going to add in 1 egg at a time. And you can break these in a bowl if you so want to. Especially if you're dealing with like fresh eggs. Or home eggs, you know, sometimes you may get a hold of one that's, yeah, bad. And you don't want to accidentally drop that in there. So, yeah, you'll learn the hard way if you do. Also, if you're not really, you know, good at cracking them and you tend to get the shell in there, which is easy to do, then you may want to do that in a separate bowl. Now, I was supposed to, see, I done that again. I done that the last time. I was supposed to mix each egg in between. But, you know, it's not going to hurt it. So, you can mix each egg in between if you want to, or you can do it like I just did. I'm not worried about it. I do what I just do it. And it's going to turn out. You just got to get those eggs mixed in there good. That's the whole purpose of doing one at a time, is getting them incorporated really good into your mixture of butter and sugar. So we've got that mixing really good there. Okay, and get them beaten really, really good. And okay, that looks pretty good. Now I'm gonna put my 2 teaspoons of vanilla. And my vanilla is not ready, so I had to opt and get me some from a store. But if you make your own, then use your own. It'll be much better. I have mine, but it's still infusing, so I want it to have a nice, strong flavor. And I am going to do some different flavorings, extracts. You can do all sorts of extracts. All different types of flavors and such. Let that do its mixy mix. And get mixed up really nice there. And getting everything in place so I can get my dry ingredients ready. Give them a little bit of more of a whisk there. Okay, I do believe we got that nice and creamy. Look at that. Awesome. Now, I will be having to probably scrape off some in there because I see a little bit of sugar. See it on my thing? Yeah. But I'm going to go ahead and put in some of our cake mixture here. That's our flour, our cocoa, and our baking powder, baking soda, and salt. Put that in there, give that a little bit of a mixy mix, and then we're going to put some of our milk. Put a little bit of our milk in there and get that incorporated really well. Now you see how I start my mixer slow. The reason I do that is it'll blow flour all over you, or in this case, yeah, chocolate flour. If you start it out too fast, you're going to get like a cloud. Start it slow, and then I'll increase it. And I have got my oven already preheating. I've got it on 350. Ooh, it's looking really, really good. Look at that. Nice and creamy. Smells awesome. If we only had smell-o-vision. Smells really, 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 really good. looking good. We will have to scrape. I will be scraping the sides and scraping the bottom. And we'll go ahead and put the rest of that in there. Okay, looking good. Put the rest of our milk in there. Now let's give that a little mixy there. And then we'll do some scraping here in a minute. Smells awesome though. Got a really good smell. It's all from scratch. You're not using a box. You know that most of those boxes that I looked at, you know, box cake mixes, have bioengineered something or another in them. So what is that? I don't know what that is. Yeah, so yeah. And you know what you're putting into your own, you know. When you go buy those box mixes, they have so many ingredients. I mean, yeah. So now we're going to give it a good scrape down here. And I'll go ahead and tell you, there will be several videos, because there will be a long video that is got the vanilla that I've also making today. So vanilla cupcakes, there'll be a long video that'll have me making the vanilla cupcakes. I'm also doing a swirl cupcake, and then this chocolate cupcake. So yeah. Then there will be short videos. So say you only want to see the chocolate. Well, then there will be a video with just a chocolate. There will be a video with just a vanilla, and one with just a swirl. And so on. So that way the people who like the long videos get their video. The people who likes, you know, to get to the point and they only want a certain recipe, well, then there's their video. Oops, I'm about to get a mess on me. Of course, I got my trusty apron on. Okay. Now I'm gonna crank it up for a minute here. I want to get it good and mixed. Oh, it smells so good. Okay, this is ready to put into our cupcake holders. Okay, let's fill one. I'm going to use this thingy. You can use whatever you want to. This is nice and thick, so it's a lot thicker than the vanilla that I done. Now, like I said, you could put you some chocolate drops in there, some chocolate chips, or chunks even. Okay, I don't want it but so full, because I don't really want them to rise up really high. So I'm thinking about there is about right. See where I'm at on that. Somewhere around there. I may have a little bit too much in that one, but not, you know, it's not bad. So I'm gonna fill these up and get them ready for the oven. I'll show you once I get them in there. I've got them in the oven. I have got my pizza stone underneath, as you can see, and that will help to keep them from burning. So yeah. Take 20 to 25 minutes for yours. Now mine, I'm going to have to check them at 15 because this thing runs hot. So yeah, these rose more than I had hoped, but it's still fine, you know. They're nowhere near, look. So I'm gonna put these for another probably 10 minutes. Yeah, and because I did 15, we're gonna go for, well, no, I'll go for 5 and come back and I'll check it. See, this is what you don't want. You see that? You don't want anything on your toothpick. You want it to pull out clean with nothing on there. So yeah. Okay, they are perfect. See, nothing on there. Now I'll put them on a cooling rack, and yeah, okay, we're in there. See, so there. Got them on a cooling rack, doing their thing. Okay, our chocolate buttercream. I got powdered sugar on me. chocolate buttercream frosting. I want to give you the recipe first thing. So you're going to want 1 cup of unsalted room temperature butter. I'm using real butter. You can use whatever you want to, but you do want it to be at room temperature and softened. And then you're going to need 3.5 cups of confectioner sugar, which is powdered sugar. So yeah. And then you're going to need 1/2 cup of unsweetened natural or like Dutch, you know, Dutch processed cocoa. I've got this one, so yeah. You're going to want 1/2 cup of that. You're going to want 3 tablespoons of heavy whipping cream, or you could try milk, but I like to use the heavy whipping cream, and I have my 3 tablespoons right here. But yeah, you can use milk, but you want that to be at room temperature. I would probably, well, no, you could probably use any milk. I would say any milk, but you could surely try it, you know. 1/8 teaspoon of salt. I am using sea salt. And then you want 2 teaspoons of pure vanilla. My vanilla is not ready, so I had to pick me up some. So yeah, let's start from there. We're going to put our, let me put you down here so you can see. Okay, we're going to put our butter in first. We want to cream it. Cream that butter. Okay, and you can see it's lovely and softened and at room temperature. If it's too hard and it's not at room temperature, it's not going to work very well. And if it's too melty, it's definitely not going to work very well. Okay, we want to cream that. Let's get that creamed up there. And I'm going to be getting my powdered sugar ready. We need 3.5 cups of powdered sugar. Got nice and creamy. Looks really good. Okay, now I want to add my powdered sugar. I've got 1 cup. I'm going to give it just a little mixy mix. Just a little bit there. Two. Three. Okay. Get my half. Okay. Okay, there's our 3.5 cups of powdered sugar. Okay, now let that just for a second there. Let me get my chocolate, my cocoa, not chocolate, but cocoa ready. Put our cocoa. Oh, it looks good. Got our cocoa in there. I'm gonna go ahead and add in my 3 tablespoons of heavy whipping cream. Okay, get that in there nicely. Now you may need more, but you know, you can evaluate that as you go if you need more of whatever, cream or such. I'm gonna go ahead and put in my 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. 1, 2. Okay. And I am going to go ahead and put in my salt also. And that was 1/8 of a teaspoon or a pinch. You could very well do a pinch. But I got this 1/8 of a teaspoon measure, so I'm going to use it. Usually I only had 1/4, but I've got 1/8 now, so I figure I might as well use it while I got it. Okay, let's put that down in there. Let's let it do its mixy thing. Okay, we got that low. We're going to do it on low at first. Now we're going to increase it. Now I want to kind of scrape down anywhere like on here, how you've got this not blending in. And then you got that spot in the bottom of your, if you're using a KitchenAid, you need to remember, they're around the center of this, right there. It will usually not pick it up, not get it. Okay, let me get my trusty, this guy, to get that scraped, because we want to get all of that in there nicely incorporated, so we don't have a bunch of white sugar showing up. Okay. Pretty good. Look at that. Now it's according, you know, if you're going to be piping it, or if you're going to be just, you know, taking a butter knife and putting it on. But if it's ever too liquidy, this looks pretty good for me. If it's too liquidy, then you just merely add more powdered sugar, or you can add cocoa in this case because you're using the cocoa. If it is too dry, then you just simply add another splash of your milk or heavy cream or whatever you're using. Even if you're out of that, you could use a little bit of water if you had to at the ending, you know. But yeah, that looks pretty good. So I'm gonna get this scraped down, and then I'll bring you back. Okay, after you have chose your end, if you're going to pipe it, you simply cut your bag to where it fits down in it like that. And then what I like to do is get me a tall cup of sorts. What works really well is like the cups that you get from fast food stores, the plastic ones. Yeah, because I have been, yeah, I've piped my cold processed soap. I love to pipe. I've piped cookies, I've piped cakes. I'm not a professional though, and don't claim to be one. So yeah. Okay, I'll put that down in there like so. So you twist it good so it doesn't come out, and I kind of try to push it like that. Put that down in there. Open your bag up like this. Take your fingers and just simply do that right there. You see I've got it. Now I'm going to take some of my chocolate buttercream, and you simply just putting it in there like so. Whoop. Didn't mean to lose my spatula there. It happens, I guess. But yeah, I've done it again. Look at that. Yeah, spatula may not be quite the best to use. Let me see. Let me get something out. Okay, I got some homemade chocolate cupcakes that are cool. So yeah, and I've got my bag ready, as you can see. Okay, let's go with this. And see how I want to do them. I think I just want to go simple. I mean, you can do whatever you want to. You know what I'm saying? And I've got several different tips. I've got a lot of tips. I tend to love the larger tips. I've got tips upstairs as well that are dedicated to my Bath and Body products, soap making and such. Yeah. And then I have my baking tips. I'll have to get some more icing out. Oh, I don't like the look of that one. Oh well, we'll just leave it as is. Yeah, but you can see, just giving you a gist of how it looks. You can take a butter knife and just simply smear, like say, you know, just smearing it on there like so. It's all according to what you want to do. Yep. And then we have that one. Okay. So there is, yeah, those chocolate cupcakes look gorgeous, don't they? I think they look really well. I do. So yeah. If you like the content I create, how about a follow? I would appreciate that. But we'll come back and, yeah. These cupcakes are delicious. Absolutely delicious. And the thing about buttercream is you can kind of control it, because you can add less sugar, make them not as sweet. You can make it creamier, you can make it stiffer, however you're wanting to, you know, pipe it or just spread it, whatever. But you know what the best things are? One thing, you done it yourself. You made it from scratch. Cake, the frosting, the cookie cake, whatever, you done it yourself. Number two, the best thing is you know what's in it because you put every ingredient in there. You know, you're not buying a box that's got a lot of words that you cannot pronounce, or you don't know what on earth they are, or they may say bioengineered ingredient. What is that? You know, so you know what's in it. That's a big plus there. And these cake mixes, you know, oftentimes you can make them, pre-make them, put them in a jar, seal them up tight, you know, put them in a nice dark place in your cabinet, and they'll last for a good amount of time. Yeah. Okay, let's pop a few more. Trying to make this icing go, and see, that's another thing. You can control how much icing you put on yours. If you don't want a lot of sugar, don't put a lot of icing. See how I've kind of skimmed that one, but then you just go right back and just put a little more. See there? Perfect, and not too much icing. These are less, so yeah. Sometimes less is more. It's just according to you and what you like, you know. Now, as for me, my son, you know, my mom, we're dieting right now, so we will limit ourselves, you know. And but I wanted to bring you along, let you see, you know, and give you these recipes on how I was going to do this. So if you like the content I create, how about a follow? I truly appreciate that. And yeah, I think these are awesome. I've still got my tag thing on there. I gotta take that off. And yeah, tasty. They're very tasty too. So yeah. Okay, I'm doing these just a little bit differently. And you see I'm just holding it down instead of going and doing the big round part, because I don't want to run out of frosting. I don't want to have to make more. We'll put it that way. So if you do it this way, it still looks nicely because it's spreading across the top of your cupcake, as you can see, but you're not going around, so you're not using as much frosting. Do you see what I'm saying? Hopefully so. Okay, I got me a box at Wally World, and here they are. Here they are. Aren't they adorable? And these little stick-on things stick in there. They just simply just stick right down in there. Isn't those adorable? Hopefully you can see them.